What do we do when our drawing or our painting or really any creative endeavour no longer brings us the enjoyment that it once did, or for some reason we've simply ground to a halt? We find the motivation to do it is lacking, even though we do have time and we do have opportunity. And part of us still wants to be doing it, and yet it just seems so difficult to actually start to do it for some reason. In fact, we might find ourselves looking around for something else to do with our time. And yet another part of us is frustrated that somehow we haven't continued with what we've begun. In fact, we may actually start to see doing this thing, doing drawing, as a negative. It may trigger all sorts of negative, tense, unpleasant emotions or feelings, reactions within myself. How do I push through these barriers? How can I get back on the track that I started on? There are two main ways I think we can get back on track. I'll just outline the first one because I just want to focus really on the second one. But the first one's important, and it may be the best approach for some people, is to try and understand why. Why has it become so hard to do something that I thought I really wanted to do? Maybe it was simply harder than I thought. Maybe I thought I'd be better, quicker, and that hasn't happened. Maybe I thought this would be a way to make money, and looking at what I've done, I realize it may not be, or it may not be for a very long time. Or there simply may be easier side hustles than ones connected with my drawing ability and progress. Or it could be that my drawing has triggered or made worse or picked up some sort of perfectionistic tendencies that mean I become very tense when I start to draw because I become so afraid of making mistakes that really all the fun has evaporated. The whole process may in fact be having a negative impact on my mental well-being. It makes me feel bad rather than good. But we don't always understand why. We can't always work it out. Although it is helpful, I think, if we can, because then we can tailor more specifically how we might respond to it if indeed it's something that we still want to push through in some way. But we don't always understand why. And it's in that situation that I particularly want to put these thoughts forward. This helpful way ahead is based on the premise that we've reached some sort of blockage that we don't necessarily understand why it's there or why it's blocking us, but that we need to get around it if our progress is to continue. And what I suggest we do to get through the blockage is to make a drastic change of direction. And I mean the sort of change in direction that makes it impossible to keep doing what we've been doing. So for instance, if I'm drawing in pencil, I might switch to pen, I might switch to charcoal, or I might use colour instead of black and white. I might use colour pencils, I might use pastels, I might play around with watercolour. And I would say, for the sake of pushing through some sort of blockage in our normal drawing routine, don't worry about the fact that I don't know how to use this stuff. I haven't had lessons, I've never had a class, I haven't read a book, I haven't watched a video. Don't worry about that, at least not at the start. Just start, just use the different medium and have fun with the process. Experiment with it. Or rather than change what we draw with, or as well as, change the size. Draw postcard size. Do drawings that we finish in 5 minutes rather than 2.5 hours. Or start a wall mural and have fun with that. Tape up some large, cheap paper on the wall and start to do whatever mural scene appeals to you. Or I can vastly change the subject I draw. Instead of drawing architecture, I could draw animals. I could draw portraits. I could draw planes or ships or whatever I'm interested in. And the sun has just come out, and let me tell you, it's certainly no warmer here, but we can also set the timer when we draw. Instead of taking 30, 60, 120 minutes to do a drawing, we can make it 10 or 20 or 30. We can keep it short so that we're pushed to go quickly, so that we don't have time to get bogged down in case somehow there's some aspect of getting bogged down in our drawing that ends up stopping us completely. Or if I draw from photos, I can go on location. Whether I do the same sort of subject or I find a different one that I can sketch, I stop drawing from photos and I start to draw from life. I don't need to leave the house to do that. I can draw a still life on a few household ornaments put together on a table. Or I could find something in the garden or in a pot plant even that I can draw from life. Or I change the scale of my subject. If I draw large landscapes, then I focus in and I just draw a single flower. Or equally, if I've just drawn small objects close up in great detail, I do large vistas where I have to work fast and I have to find ways of capturing the effects of what I'm seeing rather than draw the detail. It doesn't matter where we start and which way we lurch. The idea is that we lurch into a totally different type of way of drawing, of things to draw, so that we shake up considerably at least some element of our drawing process, but hopefully more than one. Because what we're wanting to do is to bypass that blockage as quickly and with as much distance between us and it as possible. And the more we change, the more drastically we change elements of our drawing process, the better. We start to discover and hopefully to enjoy more aspects, more elements of the drawing process than we've allowed ourselves to at that point, where we've probably been very focused on the end product. Instead of this focus on having something at the end that I can do something with, or that says something to me or says something to other people about me, I focus on the process. And how it can often work is that because I've changed these parameters into things I have no experience from, I'm not expecting great things of what I do, which means I don't have that pressure. I'm not making products for a market stall. I'm not trying to prove to myself that I can do something. I can have fun, and I can let my creativity connect with the fun and the process and not get all tense about the outcome. Now, I can explore different processes of drawing for as long or as little as I want. And at some point, I can choose to go back to the path I was on, but hopefully with a greater sense of I can explore things and I can try things out, and that's part of the process, that we can bring enthusiasm and confidence that we might have lost somewhere along our journey previously. And if we do go back to the place where we left off, then I'm certain that things we've discovered and experienced along the way will give us more energy and more drive to push through and to keep going to the place that perhaps we always wanted to go, but somehow just ran out of steam in trying to get there. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Look, I hope these few minutes of thoughts are helpful for anyone who's perhaps reached a point of blockage. They've ground to a halt in enthusiasm and energy for drawing and thinks, why am I doing it? But where it's still a love-hate thing, where part of me still wants to keep going. If that's the case, I hope these things give you some ideas of how you might push on, push through and keep going, whether it's to the place you've always wanted to get, or perhaps you'll discover a new destination. But look, whatever path you take, however far you get, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.